The warehouse is open. Tales from the Warehouse, volume 56 already. Collector's Profile. I love doing these. Welcoming into the warehouse, our friend Dave Romano. Dave, good to see you, my friend. Met in person. We've texted. We've transacted in the hobby. I helped welcome you into this circus, and I take no credit for anything happens heretofore, but I'm just so glad that you stuck with it and you're having a blast. We'll get into your history in just a little bit. Again, Tales from the Warehouse, volume 56. We'll talk to Dave in just a second. Quick reminder as we record this prior to Memorial Day, but you've made summer plans. Hopefully you've carved out a little bit of space. July the 12th, it's the 20th anniversary of the Migrate Expo, as is the case. Raritan Valley Community College Conference Center. We will see you there, Branchburg, New Jersey. You go there, you get in line, you get early access to the Migrate Summer Sale. The show itself is an experience like no other. People show up from not only across the country, not only from Canada, but all over the world. And it is truly, truly, truly a fantastic way to connect, collect, acquire, appreciate, and just converse with like-minded folks who really, really enjoy the hobby like we do, like Dave does, like you do. If you're a subscriber of this podcast, well, then it's a natural fit. Contact Stu Oxenhorn for dealer and collector tables, guests, and the summer sale, and just it's a weekend of special, basically, and the headliner is the show. As we get into it today, please be joined, as I mentioned, by Dave Romano. You can tell in the background, he's got some bees stuff. You can tell in the foreground, he's got some bees stuff. There's a t-shirt. There's an Andy Moog. There are several Moogs. There are masks. He is an appreciator of the finer things in the collecting world. But before we get to that, Dave, tell me about what David Romano does daytime to keep him sane, aside from the insanity that is the collecting world of game-worn sweaters.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott.
Course.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the invite. And yeah, actually, you were one of the first ones that I communicate with in the hobby, and gave me one of these beautiful mugs that I have hanging up on the wall. Um, my day job is a little different. My day job, I'm a medical provider, I'm a PA. So I see patients on a daily basis, and it's a great job. I enjoy it. I've been doing it for a little while now, and it's definitely brought me to the point in which I'm able to kind of get into a hobby, and this is the hobby I picked to get into a couple of years ago.
And it's a great hobby, and I'm glad. Uh, I try to be as good of an ambassador for the hobby as I can. I never pretend to know it all, but I like communicating with people, and you were an easy guy to talk to, and I was glad to answer any questions. So I'm glad the connection stuck. And then I got to meet you in person. You came down to the Nova Expo, as we mentioned, the Migrate Expo, of course, coming up again this summer. So we're glad that you're here. All right. So tell me, obviously, from the accent, I can tell you're from New England, not from London, England, obviously. Tell me about the journey into the game-worn hobby. How did that start?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Boston. That's where I live now still. So I've been here my whole life. And I've always been obviously a Boston Bruins fan growing up watching hockey. I'm 44, so I started watching hockey in the late 80s, early 90s. Um, and I've always been drawn towards the goalie position. I was a goalie when I was really young, so I was drawn to that position. And watching hockey growing up, I would watch Andy Moog, Reggie Lumlin. Those are kind of the duo goalies of
Mm-hmm.
the days where I grew up. So basically, just started playing hockey as a kid, and I still play to this day. But up until a couple of years ago, I didn't even know that there's such thing as game one hobby. I had no idea. And it was actually when the Bruins were doing extremely well in the 22-23 season. And I remember the day specifically. It was when the Bruins won 12 straight games in a row on November 25th, 2022. Um, I just got very, very excited, and I thought to myself, there has to be some sort of, item that they wear, whether it's a jersey or a helmet or something out there in the world that people have. So I just went on the internet, just typed in, my favorite player, which was Andy Moog, game worn, and a few things popped up actually. And the first thing that popped up was a jersey of his that sold years and years prior to on GameWarnAuctions.net, I believe.
Hmm.
And again, this is all new to me. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what this was. If this was fake or real. I mean, I had no idea. And the second thing that popped down was actually Hoagie's, Mike Hogan's website, iceviolence.com, and
Of course.
he had an Andy Moog jersey for sale. So I reached out to him, and he gave me like a 1 hour lesson on game worn jerseys, told me about what to look for and the wear, and the patterns to look for, and the different types of jerseys and players versus goalies and such. Um, and what we obviously negotiated on the Andy Moog jersey he had, and it was funny because he was asking several thousands of dollars, and the one that sold on game worn auctions was like $500. And he goes, Dave, let me tell you something. That jersey sold about 15 years ago, and that's the big difference. The hobby's changed in 15 years. And as you start getting into this hobby, you'll realize it evolves, and as time goes on, it's like, well, not real estate, but it appreciates too.
Of course. Absolutely.
Um, so that started. I got my first jersey on December 6th, 2022. I remember meeting him. He hand delivered it to me, and it was the best thing in the world. And I actually have it. I still have it. Obviously, it's my first jersey, and it's probably my favorite jersey. Um, but then I remember actually coming home and having that jersey and thinking to myself, I'm done. It's perfect to have one jersey of his. And then he texts me and he goes, Dave, just to let you know, you're gonna get addicted to this, and you're gonna buy more.
And you
And
didn't
that's
believe him at the time. You probably chuckled. You're like, dude, I can control myself.
I
And
think
then,
I might have the text message saved actually saying that I'm good. I'm good with just this one.
right. And then, but it's how it happens. It's a slow sort of you know what? Do I want another one? Do I need another one? And then you erase
Yeah,
that from the mind and you go, I'd like another one. And if you can make it work, and again, lots of people collect different eras, different teams, different players, different
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
it's all part of the hobby growth. And we've talked about that with so many collectors on these collectors profiles. It's Tales from the Warehouse, volume 56, collectors profile, talking to Dave Romano, goalies, Andy Moog. We'll get more into Mr. Moog in a split second. Again, you're a Boston area guy. Bruins only, or is there a Red Sox piece or a C's piece or a Pats piece or something like that? Is there, you're like, or do you even think about dabbling and changing lanes?
yeah. No, I'm strictly hockey, strictly well, I mean, I can't say Bruins. I do have other teams that Andy Moog played for,
Sure.
but I
Montreal, Dallas,
yeah,
um,
and Edmonton.
and Edmonton. Of course, Edmonton. Yes.
Yep. So yeah, specifically him, I definitely ventured off in the past 2 years of collecting. I've probably have picked up and moved about 30 plus jerseys. Different players, whatever interests me. I've had, Hines, I've had Defoe. I mean, I've had, anywhere from 90s all the way up till current day, Omar Swayman. I mean, and I think they're all interesting. They all have their pros and their good features to them. But at the end of the day, I obviously my focus is still Moog.
So take me back to that connection. Again, this isn't about me, but just sort of connecting with people in the hobby. Yes, you had connection with me. Yes, you had connection with Mike Hogan. Along the way, obviously, there have been connections with the Mizell family and Migrate. What's that like compared to? And I always think back to like when I got into comic books and I was a kid with a bicycle and I would ride across Northeast Philly every couple of weeks to pick up whatever subscription was coming in. And there was sort of a little bit of a bond with the dude
Yeah,
behind the
yeah,
glass. Like
yeah.
that's part of the draw of this hobby, Dave.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I've met a lot of my close friends now in the hobby. I mean, honestly, I think I have a dozen close friends that I hang out with and talk to on a daily basis in the hobby. I mean, as we get older, at least 40s plus, I feel like start a family and you go to the work, come home, it's family, it's kids, and then your outlet to me is this, and it's a lot of fun. It's enjoyable, and it's good to share common interests with other people. That that have the same kind of, I guess, enjoyments. Um, but yeah, I do have to say that one of the other people that I started talking to right from the bat was Migray.
Hmm.
That was probably my third phone call after Hoagie, and I spoke to Dave Mizell, gave me a lot of great information. And then I also talked to Jim Montague
Yep.
on authentication, and he's always been super helpful ever since day one. And so it gave me a lot of assurity at what I was going into, because I was still questioning the whole process. I mean, it's when you're coming off not knowing anyone, not knowing anything. I wasn't part of the Facebook groups. I had no idea that even existed.
Hmm.
So it's hard to spend thousands of dollars on something that you don't know what it is.
Of
Um,
course. And so the information and the hour-long tutorial, whether it be from Dave or from Mike Hogan or Jimmy Montag or whomever, I mean, that just instantly knowledge becomes power and you become that much more comfortable. And your
yeah,
comment about finding friends in the hobby, as you get to a certain age, and if you do this earlier, you got it all figured out. But what's important? Kids, family, wife, partner, significant other, whatever, going to your kids' games, and then if you have a hobby like this one, okay, who else has this hobby? People in the hobby. So you get your
yeah,
common ground and you talk about the hobby. And if you have common beliefs or common thoughts about, hey, one of the guys, that I collect sweaters with is a huge blank fan. And all of a sudden, I got a music friend who also collects sweaters, and we talk
yeah,
about music of a certain era that we like. So it stands to reason that it would happen like that when you're collecting. And again, we'll get to Andy and the goalies. If it's another bees piece or something like that, when looking to make an acquisition, are you looking for certain years? Are you looking for post paint? Are you looking for pilling? Are you looking for specific styles or one offs or something that perhaps you were in the building for or remember it fondly like the back of your hand because you were watching, you were there at the old Boston Garden that night when it happened? What sort of makes the collection tick aside from Andy, which we'll get to next?
yeah, exactly. You hit home with pretty much all that stuff. And I think that aside from Andy, a lot of the things I picked up in the last year or two have been players or goalies that I've actually watched play. So, whether it's Olmark or Swayman, Bergeron, like those are, more or less the newer players, I guess you can say, that I've picked up, and I try to collect things that I've actually seen in person. So
So you're looking to attach the moments if at all possible, and that's even cooler if you're in the arena and you can go, I was there that night. Going
yeah,
to a place like Getty Images or YouTube for highlights is wonderful. But if you were in a seat and you could take a iPhone or Android pic that night and you're like, look what I just found. And then, or I'm holding up a picture because I'm an old man taking photos to go to Photomat, David. That's basically what I'm doing. But if you can pick up your screen and go, I saw that through the glass that night and he scored or he made a tremendous save. That that helps to always enhance the personal experience in the moment. All right, so tell me, again, you grew up as a goalie, you played, you've always been attracted to the position. When you came upon these sweaters for the first time and even look through the outside and you see Moog is a sleeve cutter, I believe at one, he
yeah,
he shortened.
yeah.
So there's customizations there. There's probably some good neck pilling. I'm done talking. What draws you to the physical sweater and you go, holy shnikes, this is pretty awesome.
Well, one thing, he's about my size, so I'm short, right? So Andy and I are probably about 5'7" each. We're both
Mhm.
short guys, so his sweaters fit me pretty well. But but overall, yeah, what I like about his jerseys is that the sleeves obviously are all shortened, which is great, and also is the length. The length, he gets it all. He gets them
Hemmed up.
shortened too.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yep.
hemmed up. So typically, the length, the sleeves. There's obviously a lot of pilling on the neck, and what I really like about um, specifically those that era is that there's a lot of post paint on typically the sleeves, which is really cool.
Hmm. So
But
any
yeah,
sort of dirt, grease and grime he can add to it. So as far as the Moog collection goes, are you, and well, nobody watches or listens to this podcast, so we protect the innocent here. Are you picking up every single thing you can, or are you like, I've got a black, I've got a white, I've got an all-star,
yeah.
I got a Habs, I got an Oilers, I got a home and a road. Are you just like, I'm good, or I want to see if I can, you know, acquire the monopoly, if you will, or as close as you can get to it.
Yeah, I'm not on George's level with recce's,
There you
but
go.
but
Mr. A, who was a part of one of the earlier profiles, who does great work with the Warriors and the project, and he'll continue that. We all love George and his Mark Recchi obsession, of course, with the wrecking ball. Yes,
it's
we
a it's
understand.
it's impressive.
Oh,
I'm
very.
I'm not in that level, but I do feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm okay with what I have. If there are a few pieces that I would like to have, but but I think I've gone to the point now where I'm okay. I don't have that need for having many more because I do have at least one of every team he played for,
Mhm.
and I have every patch he's ever worn as well. So I'm at the point now where I'm happy. I'm interested in collecting more, but I also have to understand that it's a very expensive hobby, and sometimes you have to throw in the towel.
Right, of course, understood. You've met him. I know this because I've seen pictures of
Yeah.
you through social media. There has been interaction. Tell me what that's been like because this guy is, when you were younger, he was your hockey hero. Now he's the focal point of your collection. So it is kind of two different eras in David Romano's life that you're like, oh my God, I always would do this too. When I would come across an athlete who I idolized as a child, and I later on got to cover them in media, I would envision myself being little Scott, like, oh my gosh, it's Mike Schmidt or something like that. And then you get to interview him later. You're like, oh, Mr. Schmidt, I just want a quick comment. And you put the microphone in his face and, being very, very professional. But I'm trying to separate. There you are looking at a hockey hero. And then later in life, you're like, I got this man's clothing. This is strangely cool and a little bizarre. Tell me about both those angles, Dave.
Yeah, it's definitely different. But being, I guess, friends with the family now, I talk to his wife more than him. But but I feel like, just nice, humble guy, honestly. I mean, the nicest guy in the world, give you a shirt off his back, literally. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's great to kind of share the jerseys I have with him. And when I've seen him a few times, I've seen him. I have showed him a couple of the jerseys, and his definitely attention drawn towards a few specific ones for sure, which was nice. And it was funny actually. A few weeks ago, I was at a local um, a local store here that sells a lot of memorabilia. Sports World, it's called, and a guy named Phil owns it, and he's good friends with Andy Moog. So I went there and talking to him, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to give Andy a call right now." And calls Andy on the phone. He says has him on speakerphone, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here with one of your guys that collects your jerseys." And I hand Andy in the back and goes, "Is that Romano?"
Tell
I'm
me what
like,
that felt like, Dave. You're famous,
I'm
dude. You're
like,
famous. You're famous for being a stalker, but you're famous, dude.
exactly.
In the
I'm
most
like,
respectful way. I'm only kidding you. But what was that like?
I'm like, there's probably more than just me that collects the jerseys out there, you know. But it was cool. I mean, it's nice to know that like 30 years down the road, he knows the person who is interested in collecting some of his stuff. That's inspired other people out there to still remember him. And I feel like a lot of these athletes out there, at least from, that time period, some of them feel like they've forgotten about.
Right. That's something
So
that I always stumbled upon. I mean, and you can say this for all of them, they appreciate being appreciated. They do like that, when you or I or someone else, and Migrate does a great job of this in bringing awesome guests through the years. Expo coming up July the 12th. No doubt they will have somebody impressive as they always do. It is the 20th anniversary. Raritan Valley Community College Conference Center. If you're interested in a collector's table or a dealer's table, I am certain they are going quickly. Stu Oxenhorn, Oxenhorn at mygray.com. Stu is the man and your man for the job. But when we go up to these guys and they're open for questions, they like that we remember that stuff and we appreciate that stuff and want to talk to them. It's, I always go back to the Chris Farley on SNL with, remember that time you made that save? When he was with Paul McCartney, he's like, that was awesome. But we have an appreciation. We have this man's clothing in our closet. A lot of guys could give two skate laces about the hobby. a lot of them appreciate it. They're like, you got, not only do you have that stuff, you got my stuff. Tell me what it was like when you were talking hobby with Mr. Moog.
Well, the beginning, the first thing he told me was, just make sure that the stuff that you have is real because he had to go to court once
Mm-hmm.
because I guess someone sold a jersey that wasn't real or whatnot. He goes, I was in like court TV. I'm like, I didn't know. He's like, yeah, I actually had to go to court for it once. It was actually a really crazy ordeal, but he's like, just make sure that And so he looked at all the jerseys I had. He goes, wait, that's a real. Oh yeah, this. He can get more into it, but it was funny the first time I actually sat down and showed him the jerseys. He told me about that. But
Very, very cool. I love the fact, and again, I've met some players through the years too, and they, for the most part, they're like, I wish I had my stuff, but it wasn't really important. But I do like the fact that you're here and you're here with this. And yeah, I love when they flip it inside out. They're like, oh yeah, there's my elbow customization because I didn't like the way the threads itched my elbow, like when we were little kids in elementary school and our parents dressed us in those heinous wool sweaters that, up the temperature 1700 degrees or something like that, and it's like the dickens. So when these guys flip, they're like, yeah, I always hated that neck tag, cut it out every single time. The fact that they remember those minuscule details. Out of everything in the collection, is there, and it may be that very first one, is there a top piece or top pieces? And I know I always use this joke, Dave, for collector, this is like asking what your favorite pet is or what your favorite kid is, or
yeah.
they're sweaters. They don't have any feelings. You can offend them and say, I got like two or three that I just love more than the other ones.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think about that, and I still am drawn to my first jersey that I got. That one with just a spoke bead, no patches, and it actually
Mhm.
has the lightest amount of wear out of all the jerseys that I have. But that would be my favorite just because it was my first. I mean, I do have his Stanley Cup Finals jerseys. I have his 75th patch jerseys, his 100th Stanley Cup anniversary patch jerseys, his Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup Finals rookie jersey from '83, his '87 Stanley Cup Finals jersey. I have a lot of really nice, probably, obviously, I guess I'd say worth a lot more money jerseys, but I guess the one that's more sentimental to me is my first one. And
Um,
believe it or not, I actually traded that jersey. I traded that jersey to another collector for a Byron Defoe jersey, and I immediately regretted it. And I asked to trade back a few months later, and he did.
oh, that was very, very nice. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but there are
Yeah.
absolutely good folks in the hobby who will say, I can tell you're upset about this. Let's undo and we'll take care of it. You mentioned the Moog Oilers. Came through the Migrate channel. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so I was bugging Dave myself for forever, and um and I just randomly emailed him and asked him if he had any outlets to any Andy Moog jerseys, and he said randomly he was like, yeah, I actually have one, and it was never on the website. He goes, it was supposed to be purchased, but I guess the time had come and gone, and now it's available. And I immediately were like, yes, 100%. And, I was like, I don't want to put that thing in the mail though. Is there any way we can arrange something? He actually delivered to me on a time he was coming to pick up jerseys from a team in Boston. So he came to my office and hand delivered it to me. It was probably the best moment.
The,
It was
uh, the
unbelievable.
the special delivery sweaters are probably, I mean, you can tell they're of significant importance, and shipping works well, and shipping is a wonderful thing, but there's an excitement level. There's it's like I just want to get it here, and I want you to drive safely, and I want the piece to get here safely. Like I'm
Yeah.
a person of priorities. It's not I want the sweater here safely. I don't care if you get 10 flats on the way. It's just, but the fact that Dave was able to work out the deal and deliver it to you, that also speaks about the Migrate family and the Migrate experience. That you mentioned Mr. Hogan going the extra mile and an hour's worth of
Yeah. Yeah.
introductory to the hobby, and Dave Mizell hand delivering a sweater to you, and Mike delivering. I mean, there's a lot of places to get good experiences. Again, Migrate certainly heads up that list. Is there a dream item for Mr. Romano that sort of his white whale, whether it be a white bees jersey or a black one. I mean, you have a very, very impressive Moog collection. And by the way, that white whale may be in your collection already. I really like to see if this exists. What is it for you, sir?
Yeah, so you're right. So the one thing I'd like to have, and the one thing that I would love is a mask, one of his masks. I don't have one. I have obviously a lot of his jerseys, but I don't have a mask. So that's a little bit harder to find, a little bit more rare. There's not as many of them out there, and they're a little bit more expensive typically. So that would be probably my next thing if I would say, if there's a possibility, I would love to have one of his masks one day.
Does Andy have? And again, not that your relationship with him probably, and I knowing you, your relationship with him supersedes any sort of request. You're like, I know Andy Moog, and I'm friends with the family. That's cool enough. I'm never
Yeah.
going to call or text and go, by the way, when I came over that time and saw the several masks on the mantelpiece, if you ever want, you're not that type of guy. And there are folks in the hobby, and I'm not staining them. They feel comfortable with the ask. You seem more humble and at peace with, I I can text with Andy Moog and check in
Yeah.
on him and see how he's doing. That's a lot more cool. Is it the fact that, well, I guess I'll ask it this way. Is there one out there that you know of that you've had your eye on, even from a distance without even putting out any feelers? You're like, I know that there's one here, one here, one here, maybe one day. But right now, that's what I want, but I've not yet started the process, as it were.
Yeah, I would like his bear mask from Boston. I mean, that's I know who has it. I know where the majority of his masks are. Of it, they're not currently for sale,
Hmm.
but I would love to have his Bruins mask. He does have a mask still. I asked Andy. He has actually his Edmonton Oilers mask that was repainted in Team Canada colors. So he does still have that mask. I did not ask him for it because I would feel totally guilty taking the only mask he has left.
Sure.
Um, but obviously it's a beautiful mask, and it's nice that he has that at least one mask left. He gave away a lot of his stuff to equipment trainers over the years, so he didn't really keep anything, and now his family doesn't want him to sell the one or two things that he has,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't either.
No, totally understandable. It's amazing when you hear the stories. I forget who I talked to, but it will come to me. Um, Former Packers running back of not all that long ago, and I did an interview with him and sat down, and the name just escaped me. But I asked him if he collected, and what he collects actually are video games. And video
Mm.
game systems from parts of your life, parts of my life. He's bigger into that. He gave away he gave away cleats and jerseys and helmets and
Wow.
scuffed up mat, and he gave 'em to equipment guys through the years. Same thing. It was
Uh,
just like, "Ah, it
wow.
was a thank you. Oh, you want my," and he would also get emails or contacts from his various career stops, and they would say, "Hey, you got like a box full of used stuff." He's like, "Just give it to the equipment guy. It's cool. Don't worry. I don't need it. I don't want it." It seemed to be a way to thank the equipment guys,
Yeah.
girls, team, or what have you through the years. You've been part of the hobby now for a good couple of few, and you've had lots of experiences of which you can speak. Aside from, hell, there's a lot of really nice people that will teach. Any other trends that sort of popped out to you as far as the hobby community goes?
And as far as trends, I mean, everybody's pretty much willing to help each other. Photo matching is another hobby that, I mean, not hobby, but some people are very, very good at it. And there's a dozen guys out there that are just really willing to help you out. I mean, half of my jerseys a photo match from other collectors, not Bruins
Mhm.
collectors, but I mean, Mike Engel. I mean, I've had guys just reach out to me saying, "Hey, here's a match for your jersey," like randomly. So just random acts of kindness are kind of just distributed all throughout the world. I mean, guys from Germany to all over. It's a huge community, and it's been eye opening.
From your start and now looking ahead, do you ever step back and go, I think the hobby's going in this direction or this direction? A lot of people talk about the addition of even more technology to match, to appreciate, to, you know, I, when I was first in the hobby, I would give lots of money for a box score, David, just to see how many minutes were on the ice. And obviously, that's commonplace stuff now. But is there something you're looking forward to as far as the future of the hobby? I like the fact that nothing's really changed. The dudes still put them on. They still beat the proverbial crap out of them. And, there'll be a massive hem repair up the rib. Like that's the stuff that drew me to it in the 90s, and that's the stuff that's still around. It's like the more things change, the more things actually stay the same.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm more of the kind where I like to see the wear in the jersey, and I feel like today's era, they get a new jersey every game or every period, or I'm not so much into that. I don't want it to look and smell brand new. I want it to see the wear and to see that, I guess the history, and to appreciate, what was done in the jersey, not just maybe, okay, he took a shift in it.
Right. No,
So
I can understand that. It's, and the piece that I'm talking about actually was a piece that I acquired this year from a migrate partner team, the Washington Capitals, and it was a Jacob Chikrin. And when it was described to me, it was so funny. And I'll give Dave kudos because I still laugh over this exchange and this experience. I said, can you tell me about the Chikrin? And I posted this picture on social media on one of the Facebook forums. And Dave said, you're going to like it. It has two repairs. He was not lying. It had one repair on the right arm, normal size, half inch, quarter inch, whatever. And I said, and he's like, but it's got two repairs. So I get the sweater and I pull it out and I'm looking at it. It has a 7-inch repair up the left, like the left rib cage. It starts at the hip and goes up. And I'm like, that is a hell of a second repair. And it was, I texted him right away and it was just a snarky exchange. I go, two repairs. He goes, I was telling the truth. And he was, it was worn a ton. I mean, I'm so glad that there are modern sweaters, which aren't, like you said, whether it's shift based. And again, that, some teams do that, star player, this, whatever. And I totally get that. But there's still so many of them that show up with battle scars galore. And like I said, that's what keeps me in love with the hobby.
yeah.
Before we get to overtime, I know your team didn't make the postseason. They had a sell off. They were more known this year for giving the star goaltender a lot of money. And then the sell off happened. And what happened to Brad Marchand was very reminiscent. You and I are of a certain age. What happened to Raymond John Bork, where although he got his chance to go win a cup, Brad Marchand had a cup in the uniform, but it's like, hey, you want, go. And so he was part of the sell-off. There were injuries. There were players traded. It wasn't what Boston wanted or deserved, although it's the NHL, deserving it doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm sure you watched. I'm sure there were some moments of glee. There have been amazing series to date. And as we record this, the Final Four is about to start, basically. So it'll be Carolina and Florida in the East and Edmonton and Dallas in the West. Thoughts so far, sir?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great Final Four. Um, my you know, my hopes is that Florida comes home with it because I want Marchand obviously to lift the cup. Um, but I think, Andy Moog played for Dallas and Edmonton, so I wouldn't be upset if they won either.
Sure.
But it's gonna be a fun the rest of the series to watch for sure.
All right. Time for overtime. Just a couple of quick ones as we rat-a-tat-tat and get on out of here. My son turns 21 today. We have an older daughter and we have the one in the middle. We don't say middle kid, just our son, our older son, turns 21. You remember your 21st birthday? He went
Oh
out
yeah.
and he's home from college now. Semester's done. And he was a lucky boy this semester. He got to do abroad and he was in Barcelona, Spain. God bless him. So, and he's a proud Penn Stater. He's a rising senior. So he's already been to some really cool places for much of our winter and into the early spring. I don't really remember my 21st. I think it was not, I'm not a big crazy partier guy. He went out and he went golfing with some of his buddies and they're going to go out and have a couple legally, which is good. I was trying to remember, you remember when you're 21? Like, what did you do? I don't remember when I was 21. A lot of people do. Oh, it was the greatest night of my life. And I went here and I went there. And then we went to a casino because I was finally legal. Any recollections, Dave?
Well, happy birthday to your son.
Thank you. Happy
It's a
birthday,
great,
Justin.
it's a great age to be. I don't really remember being that young, but
Same.
I'm pretty sure I just worked on my birthday. I was working at the time, and I think I might have went to one of my favorite restaurants, which is the Paparazzi. I don't even know if they exist anymore, but that was a great filet mignon back then.
Nice. All right. Speaking of food, you brought it up. Whenever I'm in Boston, I have not been in a good couple of years. We go to the North End and we get Italian. Any place or places that are always must stops when you go to Boston?
I mean, if you go to the North End, you go to Tresca, Prezza, then stop at Modern or Mike's Pastries.
Sounds like a plan. I need to revisit is what I need to do.
You
Last
should.
time we were there, we walked the entire city. We did another quick story about my kids. God bless them. They are the best, just like everybody would say about their kids. No, my kids are the best. You know what? We're all right. Everybody's kids are the best. Okay, good. We went on a cruise up instead of down to like where it was warm, but it was summertime, so it's okay. And we did Boston, we wound up doing Portland, Maine, and Bar Harbor, and we did Halifax, Nova Scotia. I know whose cruises to Halifax, Nova Scotia. If you're on like the Bare Naked Ladies, history tour, you want to get anyway. We were in Boston. Boat pulls into port. Dave, we walked everywhere. We took a tour of Fenway. We walked across Boston Common. We walked over to Boylston. We did the shopping thing. We went and we ate in the North End, and then we walked back to the port. Man, it must have been 80 million steps that day, but my kids remember it. And whenever Boston comes up, they're like, we got to go back. We had an absolutely, trust me, I'm not telling tales out of school. It's an awesome place and highly recommended. So if you go to Boston this summer, go visit Dave and the Andy Moog Museum. It's behind him. We thank him very, very much. Quick reminder, if you have summer plans, circle July the 12th, the 20th anniversary of the My Gray Expo. It's at the Raritan Valley Community College Conference Center. Contact soxenhorn at mygray.com. That's our buddy Stu. He can be your buddy too. Email him. Ask him about the dealer tables, the collector tables, guest exhibits, amazing sweaters, masks too. Just NHL galore and some other things will trickle into the room, no doubt. But you'll make friends in the hobby you haven't had yet. You will experience contacts and just see the most beautiful pieces everywhere. It is a highly recommended requirement of your hobbydom. If you can make it, you should go. And again, hotel rooms available. I'm sure they're going quick. Go to mygray.com and you can check it out there. David, this has been fun, buddy. We appreciate it. And thank you for playing show and tell.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Of course, man. It's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 56, Collector's Profile with the one and only David Romano. For Dave, I'm Scott. We'll see you at mygray.com. Upcoming, it's the Expo on July the 12th. Until next time, the warehouse is closed.